fun. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the WeGotJSRFHD Marathon. Today we have a very special little hour of discussion involving Digipen games and great people from Digipen who I will allow to introduce themselves real quick if they are so inclined.
Well, I'm Benjamin Ellinger. I'm the Vice President of Software Production at Digipen Institute of Technology, and I'm coming to you from Redmond, Washington, actually at Digipen. I'm Benjamin Ellinger. I'm the Vice President of Software Production at
Claude
Digipen
Comair, and I am the president, the current president and founder of Digipen. And I am actually now currently in Bellevue, just beside Digipen, a few miles away. Digipen. And I am actually now currently in Bellevue.
All right, so we do have an excellent little hour of games and discussion here.
Fantastic.
Beautiful. Should be a lot of fun. All right, so are you ready to start on that little hour of games and first game here?
Yeah, sure.
Should be
we can just jump right into the first game and
beautiful. So are you ready to start
while I'm starting the first game, if you two would like to
first game here?
Yeah, sure. Explain your roles at Digipen. That'd be while I'm starting the first game. Start it off. Two would like to
excellent.
I'll just start right now. Roles at Digipen. That'd be we can begin. Fantastic.
Right on. Excellent. All right, so Mr. Comair, if you'd be would you be able to tell me a little bit about yourself real quick?
Well, thank you, Nick.
All right, so
I actually started Digipen.
Would you be able to tell me a little bit about yourself real quick?
Well, thank you, Nick. I actually started Digipen in 1988. That is exactly 33 years ago and a few months. It was an idea at the beginning. I had just left Japan to come and live in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia. And I wanted to actually create an environment where we can actually do research and continue my research that I started at Osaka University in the early 80s, which actually were all in simulation and engineering related to visual simulation. So I asked some people to join me, and we decided to create an environment which we call Digipen. And believe it or not, the first people that created the Digipen with me are still with us today, or at least that the greatest majority are still with us today. And we started with the idea that we would work about 16 hours a week each, and then the rest of the week we will do research. And slowly, this model turned out to be, very adequate for us to receive students inside Digipen. And the first year we received students from the various universities around our office in Vancouver, British Columbia. And in 1991, we started officially our own college. We were very excited to have several hundred students within Digipen from various universities, but we felt that our own control and our own control over the curriculum and so forth would be a better offer to our students and so forth. So we did start in 1991, and in 1996 I decided to actually move completely Digipen to the United States, and we moved like a caravan all together, trailer after trailer. We moved about some 80 people from Digipen Canada to create Digipen USA, which was located in Redmond. It was at an invitation from Nintendo at that time to do so. And the two organizations started a very close relationship. And as a matter of fact, the first school that we created in Canada was with the help of Nintendo. So we are engineers and artists. We were not game makers, and we needed gaming people to actually create a gaming degrees and so forth. So together we built up a very good relationship, which led later on to the creation of an organization called Digipen, which turned out to be Nintendo Software Technology. which was a first-party Nintendo arm that was creating games, for Nintendo only. And as you can say, the rest is history. This dream at the beginning that we imagined, the few of us, myself at the beginning, of course, because that's what they call me, founder. But the founder is just a big title that is usually not means anything. And soon after this moment, I was joined by people that actually perpetuated this dream and this mission and so forth. And today we are over 700. We are people. We have probably the most dedicated staff on earth, and the most vigilant school about the well-being of the students and so forth. And I'm very happy to be supported with all of these individuals, which actually made it a wonderful dream for me, as opposed to have turned it into a nightmare, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
This dream is still there, and it's appealing to many students. It's appealing to many educators, because really Digipen provides an environment that is not a regular environment. It was created from the game industry for gamers, and we are the only school that actually started this in the world. We are the first school in the world. And then the gamers were so faithful to us, supported us, the gaming community, that they made us who we are today, and we owe it all to them. So therefore, we have to give all to them back. And that is the mission of Digipen, to create an environment second to none.
Beautiful.
Ben has been with us for I don't know how many years. I mean, he's part of
closing in on 20 now. It's I think 18 officially.
That's incredible.
That's crazy.
But,
yeah.
Well, so what happened for me? I'm a game developer. This is what my trade has been for all my life. And so I learned how to program when I was really young. My father's a computer programmer, so I learned how to program when I was just a child back in the 70s. And so as I got to college age, Digipen didn't exist yet, so I didn't end up going to Digipen, unfortunately.
Oh, what a shame.
I would be a much better programmer today if I had. But I started in the game industry even when I was 18 at Steve Jackson Games, not doing digital games, but doing things like Car Wars and GURPS and role-playing games, things like that. And then went to college, of course, and got a degree in kinesiology, specializing in weight training like you do to get into the game industry. At least back at that time, there, of course, were no game degrees. That was something that Digipen started. And so then I worked as a programmer and designer at various places and worked on MMOs at various points. I've worked on Ultima Online. I've worked on Matrix Online. I've developed a pair of real-time strategy games back in the 90s that you have not heard of because they went up against StarCraft, and that was a little rough competition there.
Well,
but then I worked for Microsoft as well on casual games, and I even ran the Kinect prototype project back before it ever saw the light of day. And so various things on both technology and design side. So ultimately, I'm really a technical designer at the core and see both sides of it. But back in the early 2000s, I came to Digipen. I'm originally from Texas and came up here to teach at Digipen because I had never thought of being a teacher, but it was an intriguing idea, and I love the Northwest. And so, okay, we'll go do it. And I just fell in love with both teaching and Digipen. And so I've never left. and it is, I have just become so enamored of this method of education, this way of bringing students to be something that they never even thought they were capable of doing. And that's what Digipen is. It's artists, it's musicians, it's designers, it's programmers, all of these people together, working together on teams together. I mean, you're playing, Guardian of the Gears, that has all of those. They have programmers, designers, musicians, artists, all on a big team. Can't resist, and so I'm probably gonna die in a lecture one day, and have to take me out on a stretcher. It's I have just become completely enamored of it and love doing it.
Beautiful. Well, to start things off, I'd say, how did the original vision, question to Claude, I guess, and also Ben, I suppose, could answer it. How did the original vision of Digipen to bring everybody together sort of, I guess, what's the right word, mold together into something concrete over just being a vision in your head, I'd say?
Well, obviously, over the years, 33 years in this industry, and obviously, people would have asked me this question many times. And it could be that I could come and tell you that, of course, I had a big idea from the beginning, and which I put a plan and I executed the plan. And in reality, none of that. It was none of that. I was actually as lost as you can imagine at the beginning. And I started Digipen because I have just completed over 19 years of university studies. 9 of them were in computer graphics, and I have finished my degree at Osaka University at the Faculty of Engineering, and in Japan. And I wanted actually to implement in the real world after 19 years of university study, and I'm an architect as well as a simulation engineer. So I wanted actually to create something that would take me away from the world I was working in. And simulations were actually only available to military institutions, to companies that were creating airplanes, or very serious projects, which most of the time were not really agreeable to work with. Like how many people suffered in this earthquake. Very useful things. Mind you, very useful and very important things for people's lives. Let's study, let's study what would be the effect of an invasion or a war or something like that. This is where simulation were taking me into this world, and I wasn't really happy. And in 1990, Digipen was working on several projects which were simulation for this type of simulation. As a matter of fact, we still worked on helping, for example, Boeing in the year 2008 and so forth. We received the Best Technology Award from Boeing, which is a very prestigious award, which we were one candidate out of 12,000 applications, and Digipen won the first prize.
Oh, that's incredible!
And that was our R&D department here.
Yes, exactly.
Crazy.
Giving a software that would be classified as a weapon, and for several years we couldn't even talk about it. And
Jeez,
that turned out to be about how can we map the human brain, and how can we actually create avatars that we could actually put the brain of a certain individual in there that we needed to analyze, and we would subject this avatar to certain stresses or certain actions, and we would see how this avatar would react. So you can imagine what was the usage of this type of software at Boeing, because I certainly don't know. I created the software, and it was a big secret. It disappeared there, and so forth. I was personally the engineer on it because I have started this work at Osaka U, and completed it in the year 2005. Believe it or not, look at the span of time that it takes to create such software. And all of a sudden we couldn't talk about it. And if you go and find, I have so many patents on it and so forth. But for years we couldn't talk about it, and all of a sudden it was declassified. It's called Beehive, and now we took it and we created a degree out of it, which is the machine learning degree, which is actually making all of this interesting themes today and science behind the fact that machine would analyze people and then will actually propose things for them and so forth. So believe it or not, that topic at Digipen was not a novelty for us. It was our daily work in the 1980s. So I didn't want that anymore. And to go back to the question, I didn't want to work in this field anymore. So I picked up the phone and called Nintendo. And I said I wanted to talk to the president. And they told me he wasn't available. And everybody
talk to the president.
Seriously, everybody laughed at me. And they asked me, well, were you crazy? Do you think that the president of Nintendo is going to call you back or talk to you? Well, as a matter of fact, he did call me back the same day around the early evening. We did talk, and then he asked me to come and visit and talk about what I wanted to talk about and so forth. And I told him that we could actually create a world for Nintendo, which is a 3D world in which all their games would live. And instead of having these 2D games where we would have to render in 8-bit or 16-bit or whatever bit level of depth of colors, that we could actually create one world and we could have all the games there running out of this world and so forth. And basically we will have the idea of a virtual reality environment, because if we have these games and we have people logged in playing these games at 100,000 people playing in a game, virtual reality would appear and would be reality. Because if I enter the game and I start playing, the randomness of my acts would make it so realistic, because you wouldn't come back tomorrow if I didn't log in. You wouldn't assume I'm riding a bicycle. This is my game, as simple as that. And your game in the same world is to flying a plane. And Ben's game, let's assume, is to ride a car. And you're flying above us. I'm riding the bike. Ben comes in and hits me. And, and you see that. Suppose you're playing again the next day and I didn't play and Ben is playing. So you're flying over the scene and you would pass by and you would see Ben driving away safely and without any problem. Multiply this randomness by 100,000, 200,000, a million, then the environment that you're playing in becomes very close to reality. And that is actually the real virtual reality. And virtual reality is not about wearing a goggle and moving your arms in space and trying to grab objects and so forth. Virtual reality, and when the virtual becomes so real that you kind of get lost in it and so forth. So I was explaining all of this to Nintendo, and they were very excited. So they asked me to join the team. And very soon we started working from Digipen on what we called the human motion, which led later on to many patents related to how people walk in games and interact in 3D. Later on, we created a company called DigiNin for Digipen Nintendo, and later on they absorbed DigiNin into Nintendo, and they created Nintendo Software Technologies. And I was actually asked to be the chairman, and I was obviously the co-founder of it and so forth. And over there, we made games, like we started by making game. On my time, we made Ridge Racer 64, Pokemon Puzzle League, Crystalis, Bionic Commando, Wave Race, The Legend of Zelda, 1080 Avalanche, Ridge Racer again.
Was it like Mario the Game Boy, Bionic Commando, stuff like that?
Mario versus Donkey Kong. Yeah. And the sequels of it, Metroid, which was my favorite of all time, Metroid the series, and I was very excited. And during all these years, I got I had the privilege to work with, our legendary game producer and designer and genius, Mr. Miyamoto, and I worked for so many years with him and learned basically how to become a gamer. At the same time, 70 to 80 people came from Digipen with me. When I became chairman at NSD, I just grabbed them and brought them with me. And then we went back to Digipen and we learned. And this is how Digipen actually became extremely capable in the game making. We learned from the best. We learned from the Nintendo, which actually was an unbelievable teacher for us, and obviously, by proximity, we are as a school for everybody, not just for Nintendo. So therefore, we started getting in touch with and grabbing the attention of companies around us, mainly Microsoft, and we became very good friends there too. And and the rest is history. I mean, Ben can expand more, but this is how we started. We started from the industry. We looked at the industry's need, and we created degrees to service the industry back to the industry. And that's what we have. We love it, and I wouldn't change my work for anything in the world. I'm surrounded by thousands of young minds that are all geniuses, seriously geniuses.
You would not
And
believe some of the people who have come through here.
Because they don't fit any prototype. You see, the Digipen student will not fit in this cutout hole at an Ivy League school. They will not recognize him or her. They will not fit in any other place. They come to Digipen, and there they become. I don't know how to explain to you. It's like fireworks happens, and this young mind turns out to be, an unbelievable individual, and the shy kid becomes an unbelievable person that we are so proud of, and so forth.
I mean, so the game you're playing right now was made by Victor Sessi. Yeah. So I bring him up because he's from Brazil. And so he came all the way to Digipen, all the way to America to go to Digipen. And he was in our Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Game Design, which I'm the program director for. And so as he's going through as an undergraduate, I get to know him there in the production classes. And it's like, he's pretty smart. He's pretty good, right? And he just gets better and better at this as it goes. And then ultimately gets a master's degree from us as well, gets a master's in computer science. But he makes this game in the process, which, there's a reason you're playing it. It's really cool, right? I mean, this is nice. This is a really clever puzzle game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he built this whole thing, and it's wonderful. And so then, after he gets the master's degree, he's working for us in our research and development department, doing a lot of production stuff for us. And then this is all over many, many years here, he eventually becomes an instructor for us. And so now he teaches computer science to the game designers and is a great young instructor. And so this is just one of those, when I say something like this, it's always that feeling of, he's not unique. I mean, he's unique in the exact nature of his skills and background and attitude, right? But he's not unique in that there are so many students like him with these interesting, unique stories about how they developed, what they did, what they went on to the industry, whether they stayed with us and became instructors here. I mean, all these different things. I mean, there are Victor Sessis everywhere at Digipen. And here's a perfect example with the game you're playing here.
For the game that I was playing earlier, Guardian of the Gears, was there any story regarding that game as well?
There is. It was one of the more interesting productions that we had because it had such a big team on it. Because you'll note the art on it is just astounding. I mean, if you play that for a lot of people, right? They're just like, okay, what studio produced this? And so they went through a lot of work to get that art to really have that look, and with the help of some of our art instructors, a lot of whom have worked for Disney on films as well as games.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, you have seen many films that our instructors have been involved in making. And in fact, the head of our MFA, the Masters in Fine Arts, is Mark Hinn, who is a technical director at Pixar for several decades. And so you've seen his work. I mean, if you've seen any Pixar movie, you have seen his work. But they were able to really get it so they had that polished level of look to it, really looked professional. And so the thing that if you catch on a little bit, is that you're going, oh, this must be a student game because it's not that long, right? If this were a commercial game, it would be 20 plus hours. And that's one of the main ways you can catch on when you get the occasional Digipen game that just seems like this is a professional game. And then you realize, oh, it's only an hour or too long. That's what happened. They're skilled as professionals. They just didn't have the time and resources to make 20, 30, 40 hours of content. And that's often one of the tricks to seeing this, like, that's why it's a student game. Not because it's not high quality, it's just not as big as some of the
other this could be my fault because I insist on everything being done from scratch at Digipen.
Yes.
So you see, if you are an engineer, you can't just come and download some source code from here, source code from there, put it together and say to the people, I'm an engineer. Well, at Digipen, we give you a cable, and then you lick it, and if you get a shock, you scream 1. And if you don't get a shock, you say 0. And this is where your education starts. So the students
will teach people binary.
Yeah, the first 2 years, they have to create their engines. Their engines from scratch. They can go and get Unreal or some other engines, and
we'll let them do that on their last game here.
Yeah, exactly. Once you can do a game engine, then you are worthy of utilizing other people's engines. But at the end, if you don't know what's under the hood of an engine, how can you go and work at such a company? Suppose your job is to create engines, not to make games. Suppose that would be your job. So I insisted from the beginning that everybody will be taught from scratch, and the artists, which they keep arguing with me, they are trained, the old Disney way, with hand and chalk, and it takes 100,000 drawings, a semester, or 200,000 drawing a year in order to connect their brains to their fingers. Then we can believe that what they're giving us, the art they're giving us, is not limited by their skill. So if you give me some, 2 balls together and say, well, this is your character, Mr. Comair, the first thing I will do at Nintendo, I would give you a piece of paper, say, draw me.
Right.
Come on, draw me, exactly, like me, not a caricature of me. Don't do an egg and some eyeglasses and so forth because my head looks like an egg.
Yeah.
No, draw me, exactly like me. And if you cannot do that, you're fired. I don't need you. Because who tells me that these 2 balls that you gave me are really what I need, or it's just limited capabilities of yours? So we do not accept at Digipen, anything except like super duper quality. Otherwise, how can we put you in the real world? That Digipen, after you graduate, we offer you 10 years of free education to come back and take any class you want, just to sharpen your skill. Because we are so afraid to put you outside and you don't actually shine. It will be a terrible event for us. So 10 years, we say, okay, we take you back. Listen, you are in the US, right? All of us, we are in the US, and we are, as consumers, we are extremely spoiled. You actually buy something, you don't like it, you take it, package it back, even if the box is broken, you take it back, say, I don't like it, then return it. So schools should do the same. If a company brings back a student and tells me we don't like him, we have to take him back. Very simple.
Oh, man.
Very simple.
Well, and this is something that Digipen has a different type of focus, right? We're not, yes, we have an R&D department, and our instructors do some research and all this, but that's not why we're here. We're here for the students. And so we really, really care about the jobs they get and the careers they have and how they can change the game industry. And so we take that much more seriously. We're not throwing you out there on your own. We will let you learn things, a decade down the road. We don't care. We'll let you back. We don't want to think of it as just a random customer who came through. When you graduate from Digipen, you are a part of Digipen permanently. It never goes away. And even if you don't graduate, we're actually still. I mean, we have some students, for whatever reasons, make it through. We still love them. We'll still have them come back.
It is very simple. The measurement is how many times did we get sued by our students in the past 33 years. I mean, look at schools; they get sued. We live in a very litigious
we do.
world, and people get sued. We've never been sued. Why? Ever. Because we care about our students and we make sure that they are taught. And if they cannot be taught, they know it. Because we went to their homes, we went to their windows, we went to their cars, we followed them, we brought them back to the class. We said, okay, you don't know what you're doing. Let's put a tutor and make sure that you know what you're doing. Then at the end, if you don't want to be taught, that's a different issue. Then
I have startled freshman students where they just didn't turn an assignment, not a big one, but they just didn't turn in an assignment on time or anything, and so then they get an email from me the next day going, "So you didn't turn in an assignment? Are you okay? Is everything fine? What's going on?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" It's like,
we have for every 10 students we have one professor, and we have for every 3 to 4 students, we have one employee. Figure out the ratio.
So, that is actually really awesome. As somebody who went to university originally for computer science and then later went to college for computer programming, it's honestly a night and day. I'm not too sure how the universities and colleges work actually in the States, as I'm from Canada. But one of a lot of me and my friends, being essentially 90s babies, we wanted to get into the computer science stream because anything that was game development related was going heavily towards things like the Unity engine and Source engine. So in our minds, we're like, well, if we go through this stream, we're going to learn to create games in one thing, and our skill set won't really translate towards anything else. Because once you learn how to program, you will essentially figure out how to do everything else. Like all of the layouts that we have for the events on the stream, for example, they're actually coded in through CSS and HTML and everything like that. But as soon as you understand the basics of engineering, like if I want this to happen, I need to make sure that I can do that. And it's a process of this and that, timing everything. You understand that. But when you're given only a specific subset, like a hammer, everything becomes a nail, right? And you just end up with all these problems and spaghetti code and everything like that. So the fact that you guys do essentially a university thing, in my mindset, but with a college way of teaching it, where it's one professor for every 10 students. The college situation for me was so much more better because instead of massive lecture halls where everything's going on, I feel welcomed. I can go up to a professor and ask, hey, what's actually going on here? Why doesn't this work? Or is there anything that I'm doing wrong or something like that? It's a lot more of an intimate learning environment. And everybody that I've talked to that was in a college stream over here definitely enjoyed the learning experience a lot better. So if you guys combine both, that's honestly amazing.
There is one thing. If you look at the credits of the games, and you'll see some of the games, they have 30 people working on them, right? So it is important. It is important to understand that in this world, people don't work alone. The prototype or the image of or the idea of a person in their basement making games is long gone. Since Pong. Things have changed, right? In order to produce all the effects and all the let's say all the science behind the video game is rocket science, practically. All the physics engines, all the physics that is involved in creating all the special effects and movements and whatnot, all the artificial intelligence that you need to implement in a game, all the music components, or all the music coding that would allow music to play and channels to play, and even music to be composed on the fly depending on the moment of the game. Communication, communication between the people that are playing the game. Playing games where you don't have the game, but I have it, so we can share the game together, so we can play. All of these technologies, once you put them together in one project, all of a sudden the project is immensely big and huge, complicated, and one person cannot do that. You add to that all the arts, all the sound, all the all the assets that you need for the game, and it becomes an impossible task. So today, games that are that could become major productions of $100 million plus productions, and one person cannot do that. And that's why at Digipen, unlike other universities that you might find where they get assignments in computer science, and an assignment could be 3 pages long of coding, 10 pages long of coding. Well, an assignment at Digipen is 600,000 lines of code. Right? You have to debug them. You have to make sure that you cooperate with people. You have to make sure that you are actually working together with different type of people. You have artists, sound people, producers. A game is not going to become easier because you're a student, and all of a sudden we have to make some concessions to make you make a game. To the contrary, you are actually like any other employee when you are a student. And you are actually a worse employee of all because you're an ignorant employee. Right on top and above that. So basically, making games with students is an impossible task. Yet we have to do it 8 times per degree. And because we have 8 semesters, 8 games, when obviously some games could cross over many semesters, but they're divided because every game in a semester includes all the theory of that semester. And this is how we like to get our grades from those. And this is how we teach, because now the students are running after us. I mean, because I know my math, I know my physics, and they have a cyclone that will destroy a whole bunch of homes and make things fly in all directions and whatnot. So they come to me and say, hey, Claude, how do you actually do this? And I say, okay, this is how we do it. Okay, let's do it. And then instead of me begging them to come to class, they beg me to come to class and teach them. And that is the environment of Digipen. And that's why we have to keep it 10-1. We can't actually create classes of 600 people in a classroom. We have so many versions of calculus, for example. We have calculus, let's give it a code, such as 100. Calculus 100, Math 100. We have calculus against in Math 101. We have Math 102, which is also calculus. But this calculus is for these engineers. And this calculus is for these game designers. And this calculus is for this other degree. Math for us are just a tool, like a screwdriver. So if I give you a drill, and you are a carpenter, you use it one way, and I give you a drill and you are a dentist, you use it in another way. So the drill is the drill, but the exercises of the class are totally different and implemented per degree for the students. Hence, we have to be very, very few in the classrooms. And when we turn out to be immediately online or overnight, we slept on a Friday of the COVID, that infamous Friday, and we slept, we were in person, woke up on Monday, we were online. We were 100% online already because we were, all our content is digital. All our professors are capable of, managing, online environment and so forth. Delivery of the content has been online since ever for us because all the students receive their documents through online environments and so forth. And we were cut in small classes. Believe it or not, we give every week at Digipen USA here, we give over 1,500 hours of lectures online. It's unbelievable.
And of course, our methods are not efficient, but they're effective. That's the important part.
Yeah.
I have a story I have to tell about the game you're playing. So
I was gonna ask you because I think there's I think in like some
tag the power
thing,
of paint.
Yeah, isn't there something like regarding like Portal 2 regarding
Portal? Does this seem kind of like Portal 2? kind of to you? Like maybe these guys ripped it off, right?
Possibly.
Maybe they just decided to do it. Well, you could go ask the guys who made this game because they were developers on Portal 2 after they graduated. Yeah. These mechanics got incorporated into Portal 2 because Valve hired the team that made this game. Now, of course, Portal 1, they hired the Digipen team who made Narbacular Drop. Oh, and so Portal 1 was literally made by Digipen graduates, and by graduates I mean graduated yesterday, right? I mean as in they were hired into Valve, and just ask Valve, they'll tell you they don't hire college students, but they have done it twice for Digipen.
That's crazy.
And so what happened with this game, and remember, everything you're seeing here is a completely from scratch custom engine. Everything. Right? You try and do this in Unreal, you try and do this in Unity, even today, it'd be a nightmare because they are painting every possible surface. You can paint the entire world. And that is a tricky thing to do because you are modifying those textures continuously in real time and having to keep a track into a ridiculous number of them. Even good game engines like Unreal and Unity never were built with this in mind. But they built a custom engine that was able to do this, and they had it working in by the end of their first semester. They did not have this game, though. The game was actually a multiplayer, networked area control game where you painted areas against your opponents to try and take control of them. And it was boring. The thing was, it didn't feel that interesting to do it because there wasn't so much interaction between the players, and so it was kind of like it looked cool, but it was kind of boring. Now we were one step away, and I was teaching these students, right? In retrospect, it's like, is there a game where you actually use kind of paint-like stuff everywhere in a multiplayer one with crowd controls? Did somebody ever make a game like this? And we're so close to actually making a game that actually turned out to be really successful, but couldn't quite see it. So they went down a different path. They turned it into an adventure game, and it was okay. I mean, for a student game, it was quite good, right? They then tried, it's like, okay, we're going to have it be where it's a puzzle game where you paint shapes and stuff, and that can activate things as you're going and everything. And for a student game, it was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't bad, right? I mean, perfectly game, but they weren't satisfied because it wasn't amazing. It wasn't magic. And so finally, towards the end of their second semester, right? So they're going into the end of the spring semester. They have it as the adventure game at that point. And from a grade point of view, they're doing great, right? That's fine. But they're like, well, I guess we just never found the thing that was really magic. I guess we'll move on and make something else. And I was the one who sat there and said, no, you must keep going. I don't know what it is. I can't just magically tell you the thing, but there is something here. Work on it on the summer. Come take a summer class, an advanced production class with me, and keep working on it. There's something. You can find it. 2 weeks into that summer class, and I remember Katie Bridwell was the one who did this, who wasn't even on the team. They're brainstorming ideas, and she had this moment where she goes like, wait a minute. What if the paint made you do things? What do you mean made you do things? Well, like if the green paint, when you walked on it, it forced you to jump. And like the red paint made you go fast or something. And everybody in that room kind of looked at each other and was like, wait a minute. How long would it take you to make this work? It's like, we can have it tomorrow. They had it working tomorrow. And there was that moment, which I remember to this day, of just walking up to the green paint and having it jump you up a ledge. And just that one moment, it was like, oh, this will work. And then they built Tag. And so it was amazing. And but this is Digipen, right? I mean, someone who wasn't even on the team was one of the critical turning points to get this stuff to work right. I mean, it's just, that's the way Digipen works, right? It's much more a family of people building all of this, whether you're on that actual team or not. And you'll note that the blue paint that lets you stick on things here did not get into Portal. And if you've played Tag a bunch, you'll realize why. Because blue paint is OP. It's broken. It so limits what you can do with the level design if you have the blue paint. And that's why they saved it till late, right, in Tag. Because if you introduce it late, you can, have some fun with it, but then you're done because you can't make it work in a whole game. And so they didn't bring it into Portal 2 because it's just like, no, too many to do. And, plus there's only 2 mouse buttons. So, it's easier that way.
Yeah. That's an incredible story.
But this is a fantastic game. I love all the guys who worked on this. This is really good.
You should check one of my favorite games it's very early in Digipen's life. It's called Rumblebox.
Oh yes.
I love that game. It's like two robots fighting boxing in an arena, but they're made out of boxes, and and then each time you hit the somebody, these boxes fly in all directions, and they pile up everywhere, and
it becomes the terrain underneath you
exactly.
that you go up on.
It's unbelievable, and this is the beauty of Digipen, in my opinion, is that you are creating every year over 130, 140 games, and ideas cannot be just repeating. Like we don't encourage people to, okay, this is the end of the world, and then the spice is very rare, and who controls the spice, controls the universe, and so forth. I mean, those Mad Max kind of things are gone, right? We can't just keep clinging on to it. And we have games every year that are breaking the mold, and this is what I like. And obviously, companies will come and scout a Digipen very early, and they start following the teams. And if they find the team complete, they just take the team out. And tell you the truth, I bargain with them. I bargain that if you don't hire this year, next year we will not actually see you. Bye. You won't get an invitation, and so forth. So, but we have to protect our students, right? We have to protect our. We don't allow the games to be sold at all. And people have criticized us for years. Nobody can sell Digipen's games as long as I'm alive, and I won't let it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I was wondering about why they're all free, like on the website.
Yeah.
Why the ones that are on Steam are free? Yeah.
You see, we are not a place where people come to make cheaply a game. You see, remember that the game that is made by the students is owned by everybody that is on that team, not just them, the school, the teachers, the friend who passed by and gave an opinion. That's why at NST, at Nintendo Soft, you can't get in. You cannot visit. You cannot visit. The computers do not have internet connections. They don't have even slots where you can put a thumb drive or anything. Can't put anything in. Can't take anything out from them. So at Digipen, you come and we are in this humongous rooms with 350 people working together in pods. They see each other's games. They give comments. They
play test each other's games.
Yeah, we have
their TAs for each other.
We have the debugging club, which plays all the games, gives debugging information, gives ideas and advice. So when we give a credit to the game, these are the credits that we know of. We should add a line. And every other student at Digipen registered between the beginning of this game till the end of the game. So first, you cannot actually sell the game because we don't know who really made a import to the game. Second, we don't want actually to be a competitor to the game industry. We are the school of the game industry. We are not here to put people out of business or competing with them or doing something. Imagine that overnight I go crazy and I turn Digipen into a factory of gaming.
You can take.
Imagine what it will be. I mean, so it is. So it is very important for the students to understand that if you have a great idea and you don't want it to be part of this world for free, don't do it at Digipen. We tell them all the time, keep it for yourself and work on new ideas that we make together here as a group, for student purposes and study purposes, and they will be given out for free to the world. And this is what we want. We don't want any game to be sold, and we never made a penny. As a matter of fact, if you take Portal 1 and Portal 2, which were ideas that were generated at Digipen and then obviously evolved and at the companies, at Valve and so forth, but we didn't make a penny of it. They didn't even give us credit on the game. Can you imagine that?
Stole your game.
Well, but of course, they did it the way we want, which is they hired our students.
Yeah, but
I mean, it works out.
What did I get from it? I got that my students all, as a group, got placed, and that was a major victory for us, because a school's victory. Many people also criticize me because I always worry about where do they go, these kids, do they end up working? Imagine how many people graduate from degrees and they end up doing something else in their life, never something in the degree they study. Whereas at Digipen, it is important for me that all my students will end up working in the degree of their study, in the field of their study. And there is nothing more painful to me more than when I see somebody that they come to me and they say, "Oh, Mr. Comair, I was a student and I graduated this year." And I asked them, "Where are you working?" And they say, "Well, in a bank." And I was like, "What? Why are you working in a bank?" Well, I said, "Okay, you should call me. You should call me. Don't, on Monday, what is your email? What is your phone number?" And I start calling back them to make sure that they go into the game industry. Because, I mean, unless you graduated from Digipen with a degree that is not related to games, which we don't have at this point. So therefore, we want you to work in the industry of the study. So for me, it is very important. I was criticized by many people, mainly academic people, that says, "Oh, you focus too much on them working." Well, what do you want me to do? 90%, if 99% of the students coming in as freshmen, they want to work at the end of their study. They don't want to go back and do something more studies. If they want to do more studies, all good. But if I do not fulfill the dream of these students by making sure that they are, very sharp and sharpened for the industry and realizing their dreams, then I am a failure as an educator. I'm a failure. So, and I don't want to be a failure. I don't want Digipen to be a school where you take a degree and you have to go to another school to take another degree. That is never going to happen under my watch.
We're the school where people who have degrees elsewhere sometimes come to us to get into the game industry.
So I wouldn't accept that. I wouldn't accept that. And many people say Digipen is very hard. Yeah, it is very hard.
It is.
What can I tell you? The product is very hard. It's like going to become a cosmonaut or an astronaut, or you want to actually build rockets to go and visit Mars, and you tell people, "Well, it's very difficult." Well, obviously it's difficult, and the games are very difficult to make. They're very fun to play, but they're unbelievably difficult to make. If this phone, which I don't want to show you what's on it, but this phone is just a heap of glass, metal, plastic, some sand, silicone, and copper, and some other material which I don't know what they are. Most like it has the same component as my chair and my table, which I press a button, my table goes up and down. You see? It's a very intelligent table. Whoa. If this table, you can program it, you can program this thing.
Yep.
So programming these devices is not actually a child's play. It is actually a very serious business, and it is very difficult. I remember when they gave me for the first time the Game Boy, and it did some, a very low number of colors, like really obnoxiously, And Mr. Arakawa, the president of Nintendo of America, came to me and said, "What can you do with it?" I said, "Well, if we can put a dot on that screen wherever we want, it would be a miracle, right?" Look at the patent we have on it. 256 colors on that machine that was designed to do only 56 colors. And here comes the ham mode that was created, right? We actually when you get the constraint in this world of ours, this is where genius appears. These are where the kids come and shine, and they give you solutions that you have never imagined before. And these people, by any terminology of other academic environments, they're useless to them. Well, I was a useless person in my school when I was a young man. I was always a problem child. I was always kicked out of the school. I was always kicked out of the class for one reason or another. And look what I did with my life. So I created Digipen for people like me, where they're not accepted anywhere else, but Digipen, they come, they feel at home, and they grow and they blossom and they become people that would change the world. And trust me, when you make a game and it is played by 100 million people, they're playing against you, the maker of the game. They're not playing against the machine. So imagine the influence that we have on the world.
True.
So it better be good people making games, right? Not some deranged people making games, because we visit the kids in their homes, in their beds, under the covers, because they cover and they play under the cover, because they don't want the parents to catch them. They play in schools, they play in churches, they play in basements, they play everywhere. So we are obligated to be good people for them. We are obligated. So making games is not just about only fun, but it is a social responsibility that is beyond anything, because we have an impact on society that is second to none. And that's what people do not understand. And my kids that graduate from Digipen, they're all my kids. So when I die and they put on this stone or on this paper, they say Mr. Comair died and left behind 20,000 kids. That's what I want. And I will actually be happy that I know that these kids are out there changing the world and doing something good for other kids to enjoy sane games and safe entertainment and intelligent entertainment. And this is why I'm so proud and so emotional about my kids. This is what's so important about Digipen. This is what's so important about a school like this. And if it ever disappears, it's a tragedy, in my opinion. That's why I hope that the story of this Brazilian young man who came from Brazil, studied, and didn't go to Brazil, stayed with us, and he's educating other kids. What we want these kids to graduate, to go outside, to work, to do things, and to come back and to educate new generations. This is what I want. This is why we created Digipen. This is why, I maintain it as a private school, not for any other reasons, because I'm so worried about changing this concept of Digipen that they will bring me some kind of committee that will decide I don't know what, and they will turn it into some tragedy, which I don't want.
Yeah.
So, and by all means, when I say I'm not a dictator, we have over 20 committees that is actually running the school. So
it's actually working for someone like Claude is really interesting, because you have this thing of like, oh wait, Claude doesn't really tell you what to do. Oh man, that makes this easy. Then you're like, wait a minute, it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
Damn it! Wait, I have to really do this right. It's like it's actually an extremely clever management technique.
Nobody gets fired from Digipen. It's an environment that is so smooth, so nice. We are nice people. You see, you have companies that you work for, and if you see two people having lunch together, you never say they're two friends. You say, what are they plotting, these two? And this is what I didn't want at Digipen. So at Digipen, there are no politics, no pressures. All we want is, a full-time professor has 9 hours to teach a week. The rest of the weeks they do research, they take care of the kids, and so forth. It's a very relaxed environment, and
I do have to say, I do love, and it just sounds like it, but you sound very passionate about it.
Yes.
And I really do love that.
oh man,
Yes.
Well, look, I mean, you got to understand. Look how it looks from someone like my point of view, right? So I'm really passionate about Digipen. I mean, next to my family, it is the thing I care most about in the world, right?
Yep.
I didn't even found it, right? I mean, I just joined it, right? And so Claude is the one who devoted his life to
As I told you,
creating it,
there is no founder at Digipen.
right?
I told you from the beginning, it's a joke of a title. I don't really care for it. People, they stuck it onto me because I was the one who started it. That's true. But as immediately I said, I was joined by people, and it is actually every much the dream of every person that is actually making this environment sane. And if you really want to get hurt, seriously hurt, you go to Digipen, stand in Edison, where you have, you know, uh, 300 people working, and stand up and out loud say, "This place sucks," and you'll see what will happen to you.
But mind you, you will even have trouble with the students who, that if you had been talking to them 15 minutes before, would be complaining about their classes, right? But no, you go after Digipen, they will not be happy.
Yeah, it is theirs. It is theirs. It is not ours. It is theirs. It is the community of Digipen at large. We are, once you are at Digipen, you are from Digipen. You are from this clan, and we are all together. Facing the world, and we're growing, and we're actually spreading our knowledge and our dreams to millions and millions, if not hundreds of millions of kids out there. And everything that is good starts from a dot. Nothing starts from a big splatter. It starts from a dot, and it actually builds up on it. And I hope that 300 years from now, some people like us will be sitting together, and they will be actually discussing what we're discussing today, the history of Digipen, but not 33 years of it, but 300 years of it. And there will be people talking about how good it was for everybody, how this place have accomplished with many people what many schools haven't been able to accomplish with students. At Digipen, teachers are not allowed to use entrapment in the exams, for example. How many times, and Ben is my witness, how many times I take a teacher out of the class and give them their own exam to do in front of me. Tell me who does that. I judge that this exam is unfair, and it is not there to seek the knowledge of the students, but to actually fail them. I take the exam, and I actually impose it on the teacher. And if the teacher cannot make it, the teacher is fired. You see?
And this is a problem with a lot of academic thinking sometimes, is where what they'll do is they'll just create bars to jump over. And yes, if you can jump over the bar, you have the knowledge. But that's not really what assignments and testing should be about. They should be about things that actually help you get better at this. And that's something a lot of academic institutions, even though they get some really smart people there, they kind of miss. And it's critically important, if you're going to do a good job educating, that you don't view assignments and tests as things that are just there to make someone jump over it. They got to be there to help them along and help them develop their skills and show them realistically where the holes in their knowledge are.
I mean, can you imagine? They give you an assignment in mathematics. What do they call it? Your assignment is 25 problems tonight.
Right.
Already they call it problems. And if you didn't have enough problems in life, right? So they add problems to you. So,
right.
the education at Digipen is a little bit different, because we all we're fed up with these models that existed elsewhere. And we are fed up with this type of education that actually, in our opinion, doesn't yield too much. And this is why at Digipen is a little bit different. And
well, even if you had something like a classic thing I've done, a student will have a bug in their code somewhere, and they've worked on it, and they've asked some other people, but they can't figure it out. And so they come to me and they say, "It's like, can you help me find out what's going wrong?" I go, "Sure, okay, I'll sit down next to you. I will not touch your keyboard. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to tell you what to do." They'll say, "Okay, run it. Put a breakpoint here." No, you run it again. No, wait, do this. Oh, put in a statement that puts out this bit of data. Okay, do this. I keep going to do it, and it's like, okay, step through this function, and then finally I'll go, and they'll realize at that moment I have figured out what's wrong. They're like, okay, cool, what's wrong? It's like, so what type of things might be causing this problem? And they're like, you know the answer. It's like, no, come on, go with me. It's like, what type of things might cause a problem? It's like, memory leak. No, think about it. If it were a memory leak, this is not how it would be behaving, right? It's like, oh, you're right. Okay. And I will walk them through until they solve the problem. Because my point is not to make their piece of software work. Who cares? It's a piece of student software. My point is to make them a better programmer. And so that's the approach we take, right?
See, that's pretty awesome because I've come across a lot of people where they understand the concept. Let's say even let's just take something mundane as Twitch streaming, right?
Yep.
They'll understand the basics of putting it together, but all of a sudden you ask them to do something that you should be able to building block things together,
right?
But they don't understand it because they've never had to go outside the realm of just, well, I normally just hit 1, 2, 3, and I have everything I need. And that's one of the things that I remember from college and university as well, was actually something that I always do, and I still do whenever I try to, for example, show both Nicks here anything that has to do with the event and streaming and stuff like that. I break it down into, okay, well, why doesn't this work? Or what did you just do to cause that, right? And Nick shaking his head over there with SpongeBob TV knows that that's how I do things, and that's why a lot of people who help out with the event, they really appreciate it, because it's not just, well, you just fix it for me. You actually showed me what is wrong and what I could do to fix that.
Don't give them a fish. Teach them how to fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly why, Mr. Can I use your real name here, or did you want me to?
Mine,
keep it as Aries.
It
Aries.
doesn't matter. It doesn't, at this point, everyone either calls me Dan or Aries, so it's okay.
Oh, in that case, I'm saying having Dan as the tech guy here has been amazing, because I've learned so much about how this all works, and I feel like I've become a stronger in tech because of it, even though there's still a lot I need to learn. But the fact that he walks me through it like he does is amazing.
Well, see, in all of this is, we inculcate this in all our students, where we're saying, even when you go out into the industry, you do not keep your knowledge secret. I mean, you should hear Claude's graduation speeches, right? He's very explicit about this, right? You don't keep your knowledge secret. Your knowledge is to share with the world. This is what you were supposed to do with it. And so that includes when you were at a company, being a lead tech director or someone like that. Your job isn't to make all the technical decisions. I mean, it kind of is, but that's not really it. Your job is to share your knowledge with the other technical people and get them better at it, right? Get it so they make better decisions, so they grow and they learn. That's always what leadership in these fields really means. It means educating everyone around you. And that's something we inculcate Digipen students constantly.
I mean, the students will definitely learn from the professors, but they would learn from other students.
Yep.
And if at Digipen, if you have something and you don't share, we'll come to you and say, well, you're not sharing it, so therefore we will not teach you anymore, because we decided to share what we know, right? I mean, imagine if I go to school and I'm this guy who was chief technology officer at Nintendo Soft and whatnot. And then I come to the classroom and say, okay, I know all of that, but I'm not going to tell you about it. I mean, if we decide to share with you what we know, you should understand that people that are confident with themselves do share. People who wants to keep their secret information secret, they're weak, and they are
it's absolutely a sign of weakness.
Not capable. And you just mentioned that Daniel here had taught you a lot. He didn't think that by teaching you he will actually lose his job, or to the contrary, by teaching you understand better his job, and you understand how you can rely on him, and God forbid one day he cannot come, you can do something. So you as a team, you become more powerful by having everybody's knowledgeable in the team, and not a team where if a person disappears for 5 minutes, the entire machine is going to stop. So sharing knowledge is a sign of power and a sign of confidence, and this is how the world advances. I always believe that geniuses are very nice, and having geniuses in our life as humans is very important, because from time to time we need this bulb lighting up in the head of a genius to give us a boost or something like that. But at the end of the day, the world we live in is built by normal people, built by people who are very knowledgeable, but they're normal. Planes that you ride are built by normal people who are very knowledgeable, and they have collaborated together in order to create these planes that fly. The buildings that we are in, the software that we are utilizing today, that we are utilizing now in this meeting, probably over 100,000 people have actually collaborated together without even knowing each other in order to provide this software to us. The layer above the hardware, some of the layers that people would think, okay, I'm utilizing a Mac here in front of me. So, but the Mac is providing me with a user interface. People think, oh, this is Mac OS. Well, this is not iOS. iOS is deep inside this machine, very close to the hardware, surrounded by so many layers, like an onion layered system. And the hardware is this dot inside, and hundreds of millions of man hours have been developed around it in order for us to be able to drag a mouse and move something to the trash. So collaborative work is essential, and having teachers that will say, well, you have to do the exam without the help of a calculator and without the help of references and so forth. Well, let me hire them in their jobs as engineers and tell them, sorry, but here you cannot use a computer in my office, and you cannot use a calculator. And what? You want to have reference books? Oh, I'm sorry, what am I paying you for? You should have the reference books in your brain. They will quit. And one time I actually brought the teachers of the freshmen together, and we put a board, and we said, okay, on the board, everybody writes me what kind of assignments you gave to these kids. And at the end, I said, okay, if I give you, Professor X, these assignments that you would want to do, you would want the kids to do all together, all these assignments together, I give you to one person, because then at the end of the day, all these assignments are to be done during a month with one person. So what would you ask me? If you were an employee doing this work for me, you would ask me for an assistant and for a raise. How can these students manage that? So it is not possible for us to operate this way as school. That's why Digipen is difficult, but it becomes very manageable, because we are not difficult for the love of it. The subject of our study is difficult. I mean, I wish we would actually teaching how to fry eggs, but it's not the case, right? So the subject is very difficult. So therefore, we have to find a way to teach it to people the most palatable and the most humane and the most efficient way. That's what I believe. And this is what Digipen is all about, if we may say so. I don't know, maybe we extended the time too much, or...
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I'd say this collaborative passion that you guys have is amazing, because
it's beautiful.
The focus on growth and development, yes, it is. It speaks to me, and I love it so much.
I've actually enjoyed listening for like the last hour. It's incredible.
Well, I mean, look at the work. Look at the work. Go to Digipen's website and look at the amount of games the students have made. Not just the games that they actually worked on in the industry, which are thousands and thousands of games.
It's hard to find one that Digipen hasn't worked on in the industry.
Yeah, but look at the games that they have done, and look at the pride. Look at the artwork as well. Look at the pride. Look at the joy in the work. Look how much attention to professionalism there is over there, and you would see why the school is successful. It is successful because of its manpower, and it is successful because of the graduates that are doing a fantastic job out there. and because of the love and dedication to our students and the dedication and passion of our students. So put all this together, you create an environment where people, no matter how difficult it is, we are going to win. And this is basically the secret. There is no secret. In reality, it's that is the secret. So simple. And any school could do it. And I wish that everybody comes to Digipen and learn from us how we do our pedagogy and how we treat our students and how we actually succeed. Because we're not a secretive environment. We're a school, for crying out loud. You know, even if you don't belong to Digipen, if some student, if tomorrow a friend of yours, and I would encourage you to try it, to test what I'm saying, ask somebody to call Ben and say, hey, Professor Ellinger, I am not a student of Digipen, and I can't come to Digipen. Could you please tell me what should I do and what should I study if I want to become a game engineer or a game designer or a game artist? The guy will spend with you a week telling you what to do. And
all right, you don't know anything? It's like there's a book called Code. Okay, you start with that. Read that. That'll get you the basics. All right, now start. I have opinions on this. I will help you.
Right. So you see, we are a school. We want every school to be like this, not just us. You know, the more of us, the merrier. We won't feel odd. You know.
And it's also funny though, because occasionally you get schools that they clearly looked at what we were doing and attempted to copy it, but it didn't work because they copied the superficial surface level of it, right? The names of the classes, the basic, layout of things, and they didn't understand this deeper part, right? They didn't understand the nature of the instructors, the nature of the students, how you have to create this environment. I mean, they didn't get any of that, and so it didn't work.
Well, I mean, I really thank you for giving us the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what is better if you really, aside from that, since now we met you and you are very nice people.
Well, thank you.
I would really invite you, as soon as the COVID ends, please come to Digipen. We have a fantastic restaurant that does fantastic food. And
run by Digipen, it's not outsourced.
Exactly.
Since one of the Digipen institutes is in Washington, do you guys do anything with PAX or anything? Obviously not this year because of
well, this year we had our own stream at PAX, which normally costs huge amounts of money, but they gave it to us because they like us.
That's crazy.
There's
we do. As a matter of fact, the games are judged at PAX. At Digipen, the PAX game, they come. We give them the locale. We empty the school. And
the PAX 10 competition, the judging of those games happens physically at the Digipen campus.
Oh, wow.
And we have a very close relationship with PAX, and we have a booth there every year. We have a whole special section that's not in the normal booth section where we run a free play set of games. Digipen games, student games for that year are always played there, and we've had this relationship with them for many years, and it has been very beneficial to both of us. But we have a very close relationship with PAX.
Yeah, we but if you are in the area, please come and visit, and you will see the beauty is that if you are interested in gaming, come to Digipen and see a place where you have thousands of people sitting there and thinking about this subject together. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's exhilarating. It's unbelievable.
Man, I would love to. And I will absolutely, I say I speak for all of us here that I would love to make that happen at some points.
But absolutely, you get the chance. I mean, just send me an email. I'll open it up. Even if you just happen to be randomly coming through the Seattle area and go, wait a minute, Digipen. It's like, send me an email. I'll give you a tour, right?
I really invite you because over there, I'm not a president where, I wear some kind of president clothing and only do presidential things. As a matter of fact, I cook for my students.
Yeah,
I love cooking for them.
Really?
And I have
you got an official license and everything.
Yeah, to cook, and I love to cook for them because this way I get to know them, I get to walk with them, I get to see what is the problem firsthand, if there is one. I mean, we are humans, and everybody will make a mistake one day or another. The difference between people is how you correct your mistake and how you fix your mistake, and that is that's what makes a person better than another person, in my opinion. It's just we all make mistakes, and how do you fix it is the important. And in order to fix problems, whether the problem was created by Digipen or whether the problem is outside Digipen, imposed on us or something, you have to be there. You have to be with your people. You have to be with the students. And the president job is not a job that you impose on people. It's a job that people give it to you. Being a president is being from the janitor to the president. You do all the jobs. It's very simple. And for me to understand what's happening at Digipen, I don't want meetings and whatnot. I want, from the source. That's why I cook. I serve the food. People come to me. They talk to me. They have no reservation, and I love it. I love it.
And it's real Lebanese food, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well.
So, what would your favorite dish be that you like to cook? Let's hear a little bit of that.
I think that I have an unbelievable chicken garlic sandwich. You see, garlic is people think that garlic is the garlic that actually makes your mouth go hot. But when you make a garlic cream, which is an aioli, or aioli, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it in English, is very fine. It's a very fine cream which you put with this chicken sandwich, and it's on a French bread, and it's paninied with some pickles at the end. You open it once it's paninied, you put pickles on the end, and we call it the dragon's breath at Digipen because obviously our mascot is the dragon, and the garlic, quote unquote, gives you a dragon's breath. So we call it the dragon's breath, and that is my favorite sandwich. And when I make it for the kids, the line is to the outside door.
So you gotta know beforehand, because if you're not careful, they will run out. And so you gotta make sure you don't show up way late. And it's really good.
At Digipen, we don't like people to go hungry. So you have money, you don't have money, we don't care. You eat. It's very simple. So, anyway, you should guys come and have a visit. Maybe you'll do a broadcast from the school one day, and you'll have
that would be incredible. Sure. That would be.
You don't have the president. Maybe you can catch some student who will tell you about me if you want as well.
Because especially if you got some contacts with some of our students, right? That could be really cool for you and them. So
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the full story about Digipen is not to take only my vision, not the vision of Ben, but come and take the students' vision. Then you would see how good this thing is, and how wonderful it is, and how open-minded, and how diverse it is, and how it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. That I cannot explain it to you. It's a beauty, and that's why.
And you got to realize, I was a highly paid engineer at Microsoft, right? I left a lot of vested stock options behind at Microsoft to come here instead, because that's how good it is, right? It is
nobody leaves. Nobody leaves. It's. I hate to say, it's like Hotel California. Anyway, I really appreciate the moment. I can stay with you guys talking forever, but I know that you have a show to do, and by all means keep in touch and come.
Absolutely.
And I really invite you to come and take the student's opinion, the life of a student at Digipen. That would be great. That would be great.
And anyone who's listening on the stream here and everything, realize, if you're sitting there going, "Oh man, that'd be great. I wish I could go visit Digipen." you can come and visit Digipen. You can do student shadows. You can actually, see individual classes and see if this is a place for you. I mean, the Digipen is not some locked away thing, right? If you really do want to, contact our admissions department, contact our outreach, and we can arrange visits for anyone.
I mean, I was able to arrange this right here, so that definitely speaks volumes about how open and just great these guys are. Just hearing you two guys talking about everything we've touched on, I can tell you guys are driven, passionate, and it's beautiful. I've really enjoyed this little segment we've had
you
here.
came and asked for me to come, and that's very typical of Digipen honesty. I immediately told you, well, you want to talk about games? My specialty is this in the game world, and Ben's specialty is that. So maybe let's bring Ben. He will complement what I can say, and that is what I like about us at Digipen. You know your stuff. You come talk about it forever if need be. But if you don't know, you have the honesty to say to people, well, that's not my specialty. We should bring the specialized person. And that's how Digipen grew, by bringing more specialized people as we need them, because we can't go and pretend to teach people something we are not really experts in, you see. So therefore, we don't have substitute that are not qualified or something. And this is an example, just a simple example. Instead of me coming alone and saying, well, pretending that I'm the god of Digipen, I immediately came to you and say, well, listen, I am ignorant in these fields and I'm an expert in those fields. So please, if you want to ask a question about these other fields, I will bring you an expert. And I brought with me Ben, because that's the way it should be, in my opinion. So, and you will find that at Digipen all the way through. And this is why I'm opening an invitation for you guys to come and complete the story that you started today, the games of Digipen. Come and see, where are they made? By whom? Not by us, by the students, right?
That definitely sounds like a good time.
I do have to add, because I am assuming that we're probably going to be ending here soon. But I've loved hearing you guys talk about Digipen, and I not only feel like we walked away from this hearing about the process and everything, but I feel like there was like some really philosophical stuff throughout that too.
Definitely. Otherwise,
incredible.
Otherwise, this small school would have disappeared long time ago.
Yeah, couldn't have.
All right. Well, I guess we will call it here.
I always just like, if you've seen, Thor Ragnarok, right? The line it's like, Digipen is not a place, it's a people.
Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful. Right. Well, yeah. Thank you again, guys, very much for coming out tonight and just spending time with us, having an amazing discussion that I really was not 100% sure how this was all going to go, and this surpassed every expectation I had. It was amazing. So yes, thank you, Claude. Thank you, Ben. Seriously.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I really appreciate it. You guys have been great.
Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And coming up shortly, we will have Doshin the Giants, a very, very fun GameCube game by PVT. So I'll look forward to that shortly, everybody.